Zach Man from Dynamic Strength, and today we're going to go over linear periodization, some different forms of periodization whenever it comes to undulation. Probably not undulation, but we'll go into certain ways you could set up a block, very basic ways you could set up your blocks to cater to your training program. So let's get right into it. The first thing we're going to go over is what it says on the board. Sorry, I don't have a darker marker today, but this is the only one I could find today. So I got the green one, but we're going to go over linear periodization. Now, this chart, this is your basic linear periodization chart. You know, week 1, 3 by 12, 70%. Basically, if you realize or see the chart and you kind of get away from all the numbers, it's very, very simple. All right, 70% one week, 75 the next week, 78, 80. You're basically building up. This is basically a steady incline, and as you incline, you lower down your reps. So as the weight goes up, or as the intensity goes up, your volume goes down until you hit this pinnacle right here, and then you'll probably either max out or go on to another program. So what is beneficial whenever it comes to linear periodization is it is basic, one, and two, it will build you and it will take you through every single kind of like fluctuation area. So basically what I mean by that is you'll start off with hypertrophy with 3 by 12, 3 by 10, 3 by 8, and even 3 by 6. But once you hit the 3 by 6 number, you'll start to hit your strength phase or your strength block. So it'd be 3 by 6, 3 by 5, 3 by 4, and this, and even 3 by 3, you can consider 3 by 3 a strength phase part, but that is reaching that max phase. So if you want to even increase your weeks, you can go week 9. This is just a basic one, so this is more or less a very easy, simple, beginner type linear periodization. So you go week 9, 3 by 1, so 97. Week 10, you know, you could do a bunch of shit, man. There's a lot of ways you could set it up. You could do 2 by 1 for 100. But normally on this 10th week, if you set up your program how you want it to be set up or cater it to a powerlifting meet, this will probably be your deload week before your meet. So basically, this could even be your deload week too. So you could work on week 9 and week 10. Some powerlifters take 2 weeks before their actual meet as a deload week. You know, doing accessory lifts, doing the main lifts as well, but doing it lighter, and then going to this. But this is basically your simple way of doing linear periodization and growing. So like, I advise anyone to do this because one, it increases your knowledge on programming period. So this is one of the most basic programs that you could do. The good way to look at it, like I said before, is for the bodybuilders, this would be your bodybuilding phase right here. For the strength athletes, this would be your strength athlete phase right here. And then this will be your peaking or max phase, where you will be able to increase your weight and hit really high numbers with the 90 and 95%. And even right here, once you hit the 85% or the 87%, you're going to start to reach into that phase, into that max phase. So basically, catering to your phases is a great way to do it. So this will build mass on your body, allow your muscles to become compact, be able to withstand high intensity and high forces. And then once it gets to here, you're going to be able to push pretty decent forces. You're not going to be doing too bad or too little, but you'll be doing a lot. And then once you get to here, you're already fucking preparing for that meet. So that's linear periodization, the simple, basic way. That's like the super, you can find that chart, this specific chart, on exrx.net. That has a bunch of shit on there that is beneficial. I love that site, it's great. But now let's get into some ways of doing block periodization, and we're gonna go over 3 different ways of doing step loading. So step loading is basically, you could take it like this. You could do basic linear periodization with a step load. So you're right here. I'm gonna break this all down. Yeah, I have to use this because fucking erasers suck. But so your first one, we'll do 2 by 1. So your block is gonna look like this. Block 1, block 2, deload. Deload, 1, B, 1, B, 2. Now the way you can set that up, that could be an advanced lifting type of technique, or that could be a very beginner type of technique. Normally, whenever powerlifters or any type of athlete does some type of programming, it's going to look more or less like a 3x1, which would be 1, shitty block, 2, 3, deload. So you want your deload week to kind of cater to your first week, and then the next week you increase week 1, week 2, week 3, deload, and so on and so forth. All right, you could take this even into undulated models. You could do like that. So this would be block 1, block 2, block 3, deload, block 1, block 2, block 3. And now I see a lot of lifters do that because this will allow them to peak or to really hit a high number on these first 3 weeks. You start off basic, you start to increase your by the week, and then you hit that deload to recover. So the way that this could be set up is week 1. So we'll go week 1. Could look, it could be a 65. Week 2 could be 75. Week 3 could be 85. Then you're going to deload with the 65. Then you increase to 75, 85, 95, deload to 75? Did I say that right? I think I might have. All right, but that could be a severe, jump. You're jumping 10% every time. So the best thing to do is to jump by 5% or this, that, and the other if you're going to do a linear periodization type of deal. Now there's different ways of doing periodization that will cater to you if you're a powerlifter. A lot of people love the conjugate, which is, it's not bad. If you're a raw lifter, I wouldn't advise doing the West Side method, but I mean, the West Side method is not bad, but obviously I have fucking the strongest guys in the world, but that's more or less it. So step loading is going to look just like how I did. Step loading, excuse me. It's going to look, we'll just draw it out really long. So if you did week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. We'll just do 3 weeks. So you could do it multiple ways. There's a lot of different ways. There's 4x2. So we'll do the 4x2 and then do light week. Your first week will be a lighter week. Second week will be a little bit more. Third week will be a little bit more. Fourth week will be a little bit more. And then deload. So D1, D2. Block 1, block 4, block 3, block 2, block 1. There's a lot of ways you could set it up. Okay? This wouldn't cater to conjugate. Conjugate's a totally different beast that we'll go over a totally different time. But you could set up your linear periodization like this. You could set up a lot of type of shit. You could set up undulated. You could set up concurrent. Well, not concurrent because that's more or less conjugate. But you could set up a lot of different ways. So that's basically it when it comes to today's Inside the Rack edition. Very, very simple linear periodization format and then step loading format that you could take your blocks into. Now, whenever it comes to step loading, it's dependent upon the percentage. So if you're a power lifter and you're doing that 4x2 or that 3x1 and you set up your weeks the right way or however you want, you could do it. So week 1, then doing it all over again. Fucking A. Week 2, week 3, week 4. So we got 3x1. And then right there. So like that. So like that. And then you got to set it up to your programming scheme. So if you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Saturday, which a lot of people do as their accessory day, you could do squat, bench, dead, accessory. Now that, if you look at that, that's kind of, there's a lot of ways you could take that. You could do a little bit more. You could do there's a lot of ways you could do it, man. You could do fucking bench if you want. You could add bench, and you can fluctuate the way you want to do it. Now, there's a lot of ways that intricacy-wise could be damaging to you, so you have to format your program or figure out your programming the right way. Now, we're going to go over another program that is more or less linear that you can take into account. This is for all the NASM certified trainers out there. We're going to go over the NASM OPT model, and we're going to break it down. NASM OPT model. Now, you could look at it as a linear periodization fashion, and even as a step loading fashion. Now, the thing about NASM is that you have one block, you got 4 blocks. So this is your stab block, or your stabilization endurance block. You follow that with strength endurance block. Which will basically cater to incorporating stabilization, but you're going to add endurance training to it. So in stabilization, you can look at it as if you're doing an isometric hold on a push-up, or you're going to utilize single leg movements, and then once you move on into the stabilization endurance, you're going from those single or single set routines or circuit training routines or split routines, and then you're going to switch it into supersetted routines where it's back squats supersetted with single leg stabilization pistol squat, but very little, like maybe a quarter squat, to utilize that burn one, but to increase stabilization within the patellar tendon and within your knee. And this will allow you, the best thing about this is that since you're going to be able to incorporate strength movement into it and then superset it with stabilization movements, this allows for greater burn, one, obviously, and then two, greater neuromuscular efficiency and neuromuscular motor learning control when it comes to your proper movement of your knees or elbows or hand placement or scapular retraction or whatever the fuck it is, whatever exercise you're doing. So on the third block, you have your hypertrophy block. I think I made my blocks a little bit too big. Shit. Let's erase this for, let's just NASM OPT. Okay, so your third block is your hypertrophy block. Okay, once you get to that, you're moving along, you're moving up. So once you hit your hypertrophy block, you have, or once your client has hit the hypertrophy block, you have basically taken them through the whole first 8 weeks of your training. Now, whenever it comes to each block, the way NASM wants you to do it, and the way you want to cater it to your client, or is basically go 3 to 4 weeks on each block to allow for proper and perfection when it comes to the movement and the motor synapses and all that shit. Once you want everything to be perfect, so that once you go into hypertrophy, where you are placing muscle onto the body at hopefully an alarming rate, or you're compacting the body with a lot of mass and a lot of muscular build, it will be able to stabilize throughout the movements whenever you do the movement. Excuse me. So you've hit your hypertrophy block, this block, you won't have to really worry about strength endurance anymore or stabilization anymore, because your client has already harnessed that stabilization in it. Now, I still like to incorporate some stabilization within the hypertrophy movements or within the hypertrophy block, just because it's good to reiterate stabilization within the movement. Now, it's dependent upon how you want to do it. So if you want to do it a different way, it's up to you. But I would always incorporate some type of stabilization movement until you get to your ladder blocks. So once you get there, once you've already hit your hypertrophy, you're going to go into your max strength block. So your max strength, you could be considering this as a powerlifting block. You could look at it as if you're going to, move in from a 3x12 to 3x8 to 3x12, and you're going to move it down into 3x3, 3x4, 3x5. You're going to be going into those lower volume sets, but extremely high intensity rates. So basically, you're going to go right there for that. And then the last one is going to be your power phase, which honestly, That's the only thing that kind of doesn't really bother me, but you're gonna get power out of this phase too. So like, let's just fucking debunk that right now. You're gonna get power out of this phase as well. But they want to cater to the plyometric power output, so this would be your power phase. That's your NASM setup. Now, the best, I think whenever it comes to this, as a trainer, the best things to do is to keep your clients within these first two blocks a little bit longer than the other ones. One, because normally when you're dealing with a client and you're just at a commercial gym, you're going to be dealing with clients that are not athletes. So basically you want to have your client perfect those movements and perfect the stabilization within their knees, their lumbopelvic hip complex, their elbow, their rotator work. You got to perfect everything before you push them along, because you don't want to fuck them up and then that comes back on you. So basically that's the way you're going to set up your NASM OPT block. Now if you look at it, there is no deload. There is none. So whenever you do that, if you want to continue with this block in your clients, you just, when you've already hit your shit, you just hit stabilization back over. This could be considered your deload. You're basically recapping. But the deal with this is that it's not really meant, if you look at it, it's kind of not really meant for a deload. All right? So this would be a great thing to do with your clients to begin. But whenever your clients start coming in, they want to start doing, you know, higher intensity stuff, you're gonna have to start reading more on other types of forms of periodization and program. So basically that was the NASM OPT program development and block design. And if you saw the block, there's a steady increase. And that is basically what linear periodization is. There's a steady increase from point A to point B. It's going to be a complete increase. Now, if you look at it, it's like that. That's how it's going to be. There's a lot of different ways to look at programming that could fluctuate this increase to cater to the programming. So it's a lot of shit to go over. So we're not going to go over it today, but I will go in depth into other programs that we could do and other programs that you could do that will allow for better benefit whenever it comes to powerlifting and all that stuff. You can use the NASM OPT for powerlifting, but I don't highly advise not to, but I think that you'd be wasting a lot of time in the stabilization and strength or the stabilization endurance phase of that, because as a powerlifter, you've already been working out for a while, or you've most likely already been working out for a while, and if you haven't been working out for a while, you should definitely do those first two blocks to allow for proper stabilization and proper movement and motor behavior to occur and to synapses to occur, because you don't want cumulative injury cycle to occur, you don't want muscular imbalances to occur, so you should totally go through those two blocks if you are a starting out powerlifter. I would, or you can do a powerlifting program. Texas method, novice method is pretty good. 5-3-1 is very good, or it's pretty good. There's a lot of methods that you could do as a beginner powerlifter that will allow you to move up in rank whenever it comes to programming powerlifting or powerlifting programs. So the next thing we'll probably go into is reciprocal inhibition, altered reciprocal inhibition, a lot of different things that will occur in your muscles to allow for proper development and improper dysfunctions within your muscles. So as of right now, this was it. We've went over the linear periodization, we went over NASM OPT model, we've gone over a couple of different types of step loading that you can do for certain blocks. And that was really it. I hope these videos were extremely helpful for you. I hope to be dishing out more inside the rack videos, but school is a bitch and I have to get it done. So till next time, I don't really know when next time will be, but hopefully it'll be soon. Hopefully you guys like the videos, and I will see you guys next time. I'm Zach Mann from Dynamic Strength, and be sure to subscribe and watch the video and stuff. Hopefully this was knowledgeable. Also, there will be no more videos for this week when it comes to my Texas method development. So you guys only got to see 5x5 or my 80% 5x5, and that's probably all you're going to be able to see. I'm not able to max this week, so it's kind of a damper in my programming, but school, and I'm going to be going up to Orlando this week, so next week we'll start fresh and we'll get back into it. I think after next week and after the deload week that I'm going to take, I'm going to move into conventional deads and close grip bench, and then high bar back squat. So that's kind of how I'm going to fluctuate the Texas method to cater my programming. So I will see you guys next time.